Now, our next guest decided in 2020 to take control of her life and in just 14 months managed to overcome her poor relationship with food and completely turned her life around.
Now, Carla Fitzgerald is inspiring hundreds of thousands of people to do the same with her Instagram page, Half of Carla, and she joins us now.
Give it up for Carla, everybody.
You're very welcome to the Talk Show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Carla, I'm just fascinated by your story. Only today I was looking at your Instagram and you had a video up comparing January 2023 to January 2020, and the difference is just, it's incredible. And I know that's a lot of mental work. It's not just the physical. So tell us, how did it begin? Tell us your story of how you changed your life.
I think we only have a few minutes, but I'll try and wrap it up into something. Okay, all right, sorry, yes. I'll try it. I'm not short-winded. So, I've been overweight my whole life, had been overweight my whole life. As a young child, I was always the biggest in class and the biggest in school. And I've had some kind of disordered eating or negative relationship with food since I was very young, and that kind of developed into bulimia as a teenager, and then into binge eating disorder when I was in my early 20s. And at the same time, though, I'd always wanted to lose weight. I had always been, trying some kind of diet, something, and I'd had a little bit of success when I was 18 with Atkins back in the day, and then, you eat a slice of bread and you put it all back on again, and she destroyed my system. All the fads. So I was like, there has to be something wrong. Like, there has to be something externally wrong with me. It can't be me. So I was like, you know what it is? I must be celiac. So I was like, it has to be celiac disease. So I went to the doctor and I sat down in front of him and I said, I think I'm, and I just fell apart. And I said, I need help. I need help. And at that point, he diagnosed me with binge eating disorder. And he said a couple of words to me that planted a seed that took years, another decade to kind of flourish. But he said, when you fix the head, the weight will just fall off.
Wow.
You said there years, another decade. Do you remember the moment, the day, or the time that you said to yourself, enough's enough, I'm now going to take control of this? Was there a defining moment for you?
Oh, there was literally like an epiphany. I'd been doing the morning pages, so you write 3 pages in a journal. It was the first time I ever really connected with myself. And I had such negative self-talk my whole life. I had this really negative narrator, my own bully. It wasn't even anybody else, and it was just telling me how bad I was, how awful I was, and no accomplishment that I ever got, no award was ever worth it.
But we're always our own worst critic.
Yes,
we judge ourselves.
Like 24/7, non-stop, kept going. And then one day I realized when I actually started to connect with myself, and I was like, this voice doesn't belong to me. This isn't who I am. I actually don't know who I am. I don't know what it is, but I was like, I don't know what's happened. And I went back to therapy then at that point. This was my second round of therapy. And I started to kind of deal with my relationship with food and understand that I was using food as a method of coping. From that point on, then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this. So we had to do a lot of work to realize that, when you have like negative self-talk, you have a negative feeling in you. I was using food as the method to escape that. Like a drug addict would use drugs, or an alcoholic.
So are you saying in a situation when you were sad, you'd use food? If you were happy and celebrating, you'd use food?
But even more than that, like every single thing that I did, I used food. So I would even have an idea of walking around, where I'm going to get my next hit from, where like from restaurant to restaurant. If I was going, I was heading here on the M50, I'd know, like that service station, I could get this one, I can go into that coffee shop and to get the hit, and I could never be without food because that negative narrator was so consistent, omnipresent all the time.
Carla, there's such a spectrum when it comes to eating disorders, and we know a lot about anorexia and bulimia, which is fantastic, but I think there is a lack of awareness when it comes to binge eating, overeating, food addiction as well. Do you think as society we need to talk about that more, talk about food addiction more, and about who it affects as well, make sure there's enough resources out for people that struggle with it?
Absolutely. I'm no expert, but I don't believe that I got to 23 stone, which was my starting weight. I know I didn't get to it by accident. It wasn't laziness or lack of education. And I think there is a shame around people who are morbidly obese, as I was, that it's something to do with laziness. It's something, that they just don't bother. But I can tell you that that's not it. There's something else that's happening. I would hazard a guess. Can't speak for everybody. I would hazard a guess that that's what it is. And that we need to be more aware of that and stop shaming people, because they're already shaming themselves enough. They don't need anybody else to do it. And help them, help people to understand.
Do you not think there's so much body shaming out there? If someone is equally plus size, what is wrong with them? If someone is equally too thin, what is wrong with them?
Yeah.
There's a lot of shaming.
Yeah.
Let me ask you now, Carla, what is your relationship like with food now today?
Food to me is both fuel, but it's also something I enjoy. I've dismantled that coping mechanism. I don't need that to cope in my day-to-day life anymore. You know, if you had a packet of tortilla chips beside me at one point, I would, like, if they were here now, I'd have been like, I need to eat the tortilla chips. And it would have been a compulsion, but now I'd be like, you know, it doesn't bother me now, but I can still, like, went out with my family on Saturday night. We had delicious meal with pasta, and then I'm like, I'm okay now. I don't need to keep eating it. And it's that compulsion and that addiction has been removed, but it's something I always have to keep in the back of my mind.
Do you think it's something you will live with for the rest of your life?
Not necessarily, because I think that in my weight loss, I did a program and it helped me to dismantle it alongside with therapy.
Totally a new adaptation to how you view it and everything. Yeah, you've got control.
It's much more about the mental aspect.
That's
and I think that's something that people are really missing from weight loss. And I think that's why the odds are stacked against us so much from that you're going to regain or that you're never going to be able to, is because we're white knuckling it through. Oh, I just want to eat the cake. I just want to eat the cake. As opposed to going, why do you want the cake? You know, or why is it that you're reaching for it? And what emotion are you trying to change in your body? Now, of course, we can still eat cake. You know, like, cake is good. Like, we still want to get...
We've all eaten a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And myself included. But it's just being aware and being grounded and staying with myself and knowing, okay, I don't need this.